David Locke. Welcome to my kitchen, y'all. And this is my blog, Boots and Bow Ties. And today I'm going to teach you how to make one of the most romantic meals that you can make. It's often said to be one of the most elegant things that you can get in a restaurant. It's creme brulee. And believe it or not, it's not as hard as you may think. The ingredients could not be more simple. You just simply have to have all of the tools. I'm hoping that some of my fellas that follow me will take the time to make this for their ladies for a nice romantic meal. The ingredients, let's go over those first. It's simply a half a cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now you can use a vanilla bean. You can take the time and the expense to go get a vanilla bean and scrape the caviar out. But I have found that simply just 2 teaspoons of a good vanilla, you really can't tell that much difference. We're gonna need 5 eggs. We're gonna use just 4 of the yolks and then 1 of the eggs completely whole. And then we're gonna need 3 cups of heavy cream. So that's basically the ingredients we need. So let's talk about the equipment. This looks like a science project, doesn't it? But basically, there's simple things that you probably already have in your kitchen other than the kitchen torch. I'm gonna do a little tutorial on that here in just a moment. You're gonna want a wooden spoon, you're gonna want a ladle, you're gonna want either a whisk or your KitchenAid mixer or just whatever mixer you happen to have, a metal spatula. I like one that has holes in it, makes it easier to use because we're actually gonna use those to take the creme brulees out of their water bath. Speaking of a water bath, you're gonna want a Pyrex dish or something similar. And what you're gonna do is you're actually gonna take the creme brulee dishes and you're going to pour the custard in there. Then we're gonna put the creme brulee dish inside of the Pyrex dish and pour that full of boiling water. That's called a bain-marie. Speaking of what you can actually make the creme brulee in, you're gonna want something that's heat proof like a Pyrex cup or a more traditional creme brulee piece of porcelain. This is a creme brulee cup. You want to make sure you can find these inexpensively that are made in China. I would not suggest getting those. I would suggest getting ones that are actually made in France because the glaze from pottery from China could contain lead. These are from Williams-Sonoma, or certainly you could check your local kitchen shop. Another thing you're going to want is a good saucepan because we're going to heat the cream just below the boiling point just till it's steamy. And then one other piece of equipment that's really great to have is a heat-proof pitcher that you can pour the boiling water into and then pour that into the bain-marie when we put it in the oven. So now that we've gone over all of the equipment and all of the ingredients, I'm going to show you how to do this step by step. I promise it's easier than you think. My milk's on the stove in a heavy bottom saucepan and it's beginning to heat, and I'm just occasionally stirring it until it begins to steam. So while that's happening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my KitchenAid mixer, and you could use a whisk if you want to. I'm going to put in my 4 egg yolks, and then I'm going to put in 1 whole egg and a half a cup of sugar, and just begin incorporating those together so they're nice and mixed. Next, I'm going to show you how to temper the eggs. My milk is becoming steaming. I'm starting to see a few bubbles forming. It's not boiling, and that's about right. All right, so we've scalded our milk, and now what we want to do is temper our eggs. So if we just pour this hot milk directly into our egg mixture, we'll end up with scrambled eggs. So what we want to do is take a little ladle full of the hot milk, and this is why I love to use the KitchenAid. Then turn that on medium, and then just slowly begin to pour a little bit of the cream into the egg mixture. And this way we're warming it very slowly. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit higher. And just a little bit at a time. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. And we're just going to incorporate all that in. Now I've got the point where I can pour. And I'm just going to take my scalded cream and gently pour it in. Now you can see all of the egg mixture is incorporated. So the last thing we're going to do is put in our vanilla and just give it a few twirls, and the custard's ready. I have my water boiling for the bain-marie, and now I'm going to actually start filling the custard dishes. So you can see they're just empty here, and I'm just going to take a ladle and just gently fill those, trying not to get any custard on the side walls. Just need a really good ladle. And you want them to be relatively full. That's about right there. As full as you can get them, but still being able to move them. You want to definitely put on your hot pads to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my rack out a little ways. And I have my creme brulee, and I have to be very careful not to jostle them. And they're in their Pyrex dish. And then I'm going to take very carefully this boiling water and pour that in almost up to the top of the ramekins. Get a little bit in the oven, it's not the end of the world. And that's about right. Then we're going to cook these at 300 degrees for about 30 minutes, maybe even 40 depending on your oven, until they're nice and set and a little juicy. Alright, so let me show you how I get these out. What I do is I put down an old cookie sheet on my glass. Then I gently pull out my creme brulee, and then I take my spatula that has the holes, and I don't know if you can see it, but see how it's wobbly but it's not completely set? That is how you know it is done. Then we're going to let these cool to room temperature, and then we're going to put them in the refrigerator until they're chilled through. Then we're going to make the brulee topping. The thing that intimidates most people about creme brulee is the kitchen torch. Don't let it intimidate you. It is a very easy tool to use. You want to make sure you're using the kitchen torch. You can try the broiler, but I promise you it does not turn out the way that a kitchen torch does. I even had somebody ask me, can you use a lighter? No, it doesn't generate enough heat. But it is so simple. It has a simple little safety catch, and you pull that to you, and voila, there is your flame that you can adjust. Don't be intimidated by it. The other thing you want to make sure you have are a good set of silicone oven mitts, because you're doing all of this work in the oven and you're doing it with water, and you want to make sure you don't get burned. All right, let's learn how to put the caramel topping on our creme brulee. What makes creme brulee so amazing is the juxtaposition of the soft and the hard. So I'm going to take some sugar, and I've got a little sieve here, and just to make cleanup easier, one of the things I do is I will just simply put a towel underneath my creme brulee, and then I'll gather a little bit of sugar in my strainer and my sieve and just begin to kind of shake that all over the top of the creme brulee. Sieve helps you put it on more evenly, and you just want to make sure that you see a little bit of white, and that's looking pretty good. You can see it's pretty coated. You don't want to coat it completely, but you want it on there fairly thickly. Then we're going to turn on our torch, and we're going to go straight down. And we're going to go in little circles. Don't rush yourself. Straight down, going in little circles. You want to make sure the creme brulee has chilled really well all the way through in the refrigerator. If it doesn't, when you put the torch over top of it, it'll actually start to cook the custard again, and it will bubble up on you. And so just a little bit at a time, making sure you get all the sugar. And when you serve creme brulee, you want it really cold in the center, a little warm on the outside. You can see I'm just kind of working in little circles, making sure I don't burn it, but making sure I get all of it caramelized really well. And then after you get it completely caramelized, you'll want to let it sit for just a few moments, a minute or two, until the caramel becomes nice and hard. You want to make sure you get all of it so it's not grainy. And you can see it actually kind of starts to boil a little bit. And just take your time, making sure that it has a nice, even, brown caramel coating. I hope you enjoy creme brulee. I hope you make it for your loved ones. And it is a wonderful dessert for a special occasion, but it's also a wonderful dessert for just any night, just to be special. Bon appetit!